Coming up on Boston Celtics Today, the Celtics have added a point guard. We'll tell you all about him coming up in just a few moments. And have the C's entered the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. Lots of new buzz and juice around Dame after he has requested a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers. We'll get you caught up on everything you need to know around the Blazers point guard superstar. And speaking of which, do you want a Damian Lillard trade to Boston? Would you like to see Dame in a Celtics uniform? If you do, type Y for yes. If you don't, type in for no. This will be the pinned comment, so weigh in right there. Y for yes and for no. Do you want Damian Lillard in Boston? I'm Harrison Graham from Chat Sports, and the Boston Celtics have added another piece to their roster. It's Dalano Banton, who is signing a 2-year contract with the C's. Spent the first couple of seasons of his career with the Toronto Raptors. And a lot of you out there are probably saying, Dalano Banton, who is he? Well, we're going to tell you about him. And that's why you subscribe to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Because whether you're trading for Damian Lillard or signing Dalano Banton, the news is not too big or too small. We're going to cover it all here on this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. That way you never miss a video. Look, this is mostly a depth signing, right? Again, we're going to break it down for you guys because that's what we do, but this is not a needle mover, as some would say, right? Like, this isn't going to make or break the Celtics' 23-24 championship chances by any means, but developed a little bit in Toronto. You look at his past couple of seasons, played in 64 games 2 years ago. 3.2 points, over 11 minutes per game, 41% from the field. Three-point shot went up a little last year, but that's still an area that certainly needs improvement. Played a little bit less, 9 minutes per game, but did score a little bit more, so improved offensively overall with the splits and the scoring, obviously. So you look at this backcourt and what Boston has to work with now. Obviously, Marcus Smart is gone. So you got Malcolm Brogdon, Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard, Delano Banton, and J.D. Davidson. Obviously, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown handled the rock quite a bit as well. So you could be in a spot where you feel okay about your guard depth. But, again, we're going to talk about Damian Lillard and whether or not the Celtics could be involved there. So you look at what Boston has done up to this point in NBA free agency. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, signed him to a 2-year, $60-ish million extension. So now he's under contract for 3 years and 90-some-odd million bucks. O'Shea Brissett, 2 years, $4.6 million as well. Gives you some wing depth. And then Delano Banton now on a 2-year deal. We'll see what his role is. We'll see what those details are. I got to think it's a vet minimum type of contract for Banton. Now, grade the signing of Delano Banton. A, B, C, D, or F. Drop a letter grade in the comments below. It's a cheap contract. Hard to give it a bad grade, but hard to give it an A as well. I'll give it a C. C's get degrees. It's a minimum type of contract, so I'm not going to sway too far one way or the other. Let's get to the part of the show that a lot of you guys have joined for, and that is Damian Lillard. Have the Boston Celtics check in? Well, Chris Haynes says that Boston has checked in on Dame on his podcast. He mentioned that recently, so the Celtics are at least somewhat interested, it appears, in trading for Damian Lillard. Now, here are the teams that have been linked to Dame in some way, shape, or form. The Miami Heat, which is the focus for Lillard. We'll get to that part of it in a second. The Brooklyn Nets are interested. Philadelphia would like to get their hands on Dame. San Antonio, Ramona Shelburne saying he's got a lot of respect for that organization. The Clippers, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, and now the Boston Celtics. And look, no surprise, right? This is a really good player who averaged 32 points per game last season. Now, this is worth noting from Chris Haynes. He said on the Dan Patrick Show a few weeks ago that he's not doing Boston. I think that's pretty safe to say. Now, could things change? Of course things could change. Things change all the time. What's true today may not be true tomorrow, but I do think that is worth mentioning. But keep in mind, Damian Lillard does not have a no-trade clause. Portland does not have to just give in to Dame's demands and trade him to Miami. That's the focus from his camp. He wants to be a Miami Heat player, but the Blazers don't just have to do that. It's not a Bradley Beal situation where the player holds all the power. Now, Dame and his camp can tell certain teams, hey, I'm not going to play for you, but what's he going to do if they trade him to a team? Is he just not going to show up? Like, he's obviously going to show up and play. He's going to do what he can do to get to Miami, but if Boston wants him bad enough and offers Portland a good enough package, it is certainly on the table to land Damian Lillard with the Boston Celtics. Want to ask you this question again. Do you want Damian Lillard? Do you want him to get traded to the Celtics? Type Y for yes. Type in for no when it comes to Dame to Boston. Lots more to discuss. Drop a letter in the comments, Y for yes or in for no. Before we get back to the Damian Lillard conversation, we got this Jayson Tatum t-shirt for 25% off only today. It's $30. Usually it's much more, but you get that discount there. Chatsports.com/Tatum. Pick up your t-shirt today. Chatsports.com/Tatum. Represent the Celtics' best player right now. That link will be in the comments, and it'll be in the description. Again, one more time, 25% off. Chatsports.com/Tatum. Now, Damian Lillard is a superstar. He's a big-time performer. He plays well in big games. He's always done that. He's just finally come to the conclusion that it's not going to happen in Portland in terms of winning a championship. But we know Boston's on the precipice. They made the finals 2 seasons ago. This past year, they almost completed a 3-0 deficit in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat to advance to another finals. And that's why this is interesting as well, because if the Heat get Dame, that makes it tougher for Boston to get to the NBA Finals and try to win a championship for the first time in several years. Dame is a guy that you would think could help the Boston Celtics do that this upcoming season and in the near future as well. He is going to be 33 this season, so obviously that probably closes your length of your championship window just a bit, especially considering if you trade for Damian Lillard, it almost certainly has to feature Jaylen Brown going the other way, right? Like, there are contracts you could add up that could get into the ballpark of Dame, but if I'm Portland, I'm not trading with Boston unless Jaylen Brown is a part of it. Like, you're not going to trade Tatum, obviously, so it's got to be Jaylen Brown. I think it's something along the lines of Brown, maybe one other piece, straight up for Dame, because Dame's the better asset, but Brown's much younger, and if you throw another pick, or either just one pick or a younger piece in there, I think that would be enticing enough. Now, Jaylen Brown is eligible for a 5-year, $295 million Supermax. Damian Lillard's already signed his, so you've got to figure out how all the money comes together, obviously, if you were to make a trade, but Boston's got a big decision coming up. Do you give Jaylen Brown this 5-year max, which would pay him almost $60 million per year? He didn't have the best playoff run a year or just a few months ago. So that's got to be under the consideration for as well when it comes to Brad Stevens and putting this roster together. Obviously, you're not just going to let Jaylen Brown go, but could you consider trading him due to the fact you are going to have to pay him a massive contract? Now, a potential lineup with Jaylen Brown, if you were somehow able to keep him in a Damian Lillard trade, big three of Dame, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, KP is your 4, and he had arguably the best year of his career last year. Derrick White in that lineup as well. I mean, that'd be nasty. I mean, could you make a Robert Williams, Al Horford, and salary filler and picks trade work? Maybe. Like, is that enticing to Portland? I'm not so sure. Now, if you had to trade Jaylen Brown, it could look something more like this. Dame and Derrick White in the backcourt, Tatum, Porzingis, and Horford as your starting 5. You could also go Robert Williams at the 5 if you want to go that route. But I still think it's interesting. Like, I like Jaylen Brown a lot, but for next year, if I can basically do a Lillard for Brown swap, I think that gets you closer to winning a championship if you are the Boston Celtics. I get it. You're getting older. Damian Lillard, isn't going to be at the peak of his powers for as long as a guy like Jaylen Brown could be. And while Brown could be still ascending as well, maybe Damian Lillard is not. But a big 3 of Dame, Tatum, and Porzingis with key role players like Al Horford and Robert Williams as well. That's pretty enticing if you ask me. We'll see what happens here. If there's new Damian Lillard updates, we're going to have you covered. YouTube.com/CelticsTV. Everything surrounding the Boston Celtics and free agency. We'll hit you with a video.